Ah. Aha. It is 8:08, the time in the studios of Q95 FM radio. Good evening, everyone. This is the In the Spotlight radio show on Q95 FM radio. We bring it to you every Monday night. We resumed last week Monday, and we continue to be here. We will continue to be here as long as we are able. Wherever you are tonight, we thank you for choosing the In the Spotlight radio show. We know that you have many other options, but you decide on us, and we do appreciate it greatly. Okay, this is not intentional that I'm running the music for you for all this time. Just getting myself actually all settled. My guest is settled. She's been settled for a while, but I'm just getting myself all settled in here for the program tonight. So a few acknowledgements before we get going. Let me say good evening to our fans near and wide, whatever part of the world you are tonight. If it's day, if it's midday, whatever time it is, we thank you for choosing us tonight, and we thank you for tuning in. Our listeners via Q95 FM radio. Remember, I always say this is a radio program, and we just do a little bit of it on social media so folks can get to log on and to check us out. Let me say good evening to those who have been missing the program for a while, and are happy that it's back. We are happy to be back as well. I want to always thank Q95 FM radio, Mr. Sheridan Gregor, for giving me the platform to be able to do this program, and I appreciate this greatly. And thank you for the patience as well in terms of, getting ready to get back on air with the program whenever there is a break. And trust me, there's been a few breaks, but we always come back, thank goodness. I want to acknowledge this evening 365 Car Rental. I'm going to give you their number. I want you to take down that number. It's 276-2833. And the reason why I'm acknowledging this car rental company owned by a young gentleman from Point Michelle is because my vehicle is actually in the shop. I'm hoping that I can have it back in the next couple of days. But this gentleman has offered me a rental free of charge to get me to the program tonight and to get me back safely home. So I really, really want to thank them, 365 Car Rental. If you support me, you support them, 276-2833. In fact, this young man has said to me, anytime that I have an issue, feel free to check him out. And I want to thank my brother Patrick as well for facilitating this as well. So thank you to 365 Car Rental, 276-2833. Josephine Gabriel and Company provides our water for the program. We really want to thank them greatly. Again, I continue to say thank you to all those, who are right there behind me. Sabina, Omar, Gail, my brother Bernard, and all my family, all my friends, my co-workers, everyone who supports this program. I really just want to say thank you to you. Don't forget, we are live via my personal Facebook page and also via the In the Spotlight radio show fans page. So you can go either place and view the program tonight. Follow us on for Dinah Fernanda Frampton, that is my public page, and also become a fan of our In the Spotlight radio show page as well. Give some support. It doesn't take anything from you to like and to share. Nothing whatsoever at all, except that you're supporting a good cause. And I think the In the Spotlight radio show is in fact a very, very good cause. 13 minutes past the hour of 8 o'clock. I hope I didn't forget anything. As we get ready this evening for our program, we're just going to take this one quick break and we come in right back.
In the spotlight, featuring people from all walks of Dominica life, dreams, hopes, aspirations, untold stories, touching the human and personal side of our people's politics, religion.
Hi Judy, good evening.
Music.
Nice to see you. Hi Aline.
Getting to know our farmers, our public servants, youth, and the ordinary Dominican. Listen to their stories. No limitations, no restrictions, no holds barred. In the spotlight will also spotlight interesting topics, issues, and relevant situations. Don't miss In the Spotlight on Q95 FM radio every Monday nights from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight.
Babuli, long time. Nice to have you back. All right, we're back. 8:15 is a good time to start, I think. All right, good evening again, everyone, and welcome to the program. So tonight, as we return to the In the Spotlight radio show, our second night, our second Monday. It is last week Monday. We had a lovely lady here in the studios, and she brought us back down memory lane to the days when Dominicans were among those from the Caribbean who went across to the United Kingdom, in search of a better life. And it was quite a program last week. We learned quite a bit. In fact, someone said to me, they were thinking, oh my God, what is this lady really going to talk about on the program? And they said when she started, they couldn't move. So we really want to thank my lovely Angela James for being with us last week, Monday. But tonight, we have another lovely lady. I think, by the way, all of the programs for the first month are all women. It was not intentional. It was not intentional. We look to change that in September, okay? But yes, we do have ladies who've been joining us for the program since we started, and we'll go through until the end of September. It will all be ladies. The lady tonight joining us in the studios of the program, she's a clinical psychologist by profession. And she's here tonight in her capacity as the local representative for an organization called Pediatric Project. That's why she's here. But she also works with the government of Dominica, but she's going to focus mostly on this and other things during the course of the program. Let's say good evening to Mrs. Lesley-Ann Waldron-Martin.
Good evening, Fredina. Good evening, viewers and listeners.
It is a pleasure to have you here with us this evening. Lesley-Ann, anybody you would like to say good evening to as we start off? Anybody else?
Special good evening to my family and friends all listening. and I know that they're paying attention to what I'm saying. They're all telling me that you're not going to be nervous. When I said, for Diana, it's 2 hours, everybody said, well, 2 hours is nothing for you.
That's correct.
Let's see how this goes. But for Diana, I remember I was supposed to be here. It was supposed to be that Monday after Maria. We had our interview and everything set up. So 3 years later,
we're here.
Yes.
For the program.
Delay not denial, right?
Yes. And I really admire you, Leslie, and you're still a relatively young woman, and you know, you've ventured into a field that requires you as an individual to be level-minded, to be somewhat in control, to be calm, to be all of this. So tell me what it takes to be a clinical psychologist.
Okay, what does it take? First of all, it takes me back to what took me to becoming a clinical psychologist. And for me, it was always more about what I did not want to be versus what I wanted to be. So I grew up in Maho, for Diana, and we're going to talk a little bit
about that.
I grew up in Maho, the area called Gynecomastia to be exact. And I saw a lot of things. Gynecomastia
is what
that is the street before the market.
Okay.
So as a young child growing up, I saw a lot of things. There was drug infestation, there was quarreling and fights, a lot of things going on over there. And I went to Massac school, and I had people like Shani Jacob, who's your colleague, who's still my very good friend, and I Stevens. These were my best friends in primary school. And we grew up, went to school, a simple little life. And I always knew, I saw certain things, and in my, maybe now I can translate it, but I knew I didn't want to be certain things. But I came home saying I was going to be a teacher, and I remember my father saying, no, you cannot be a teacher. But as a child, every child's dream is to be like their teacher. Your teacher is your role model. So I think my father, Stafford Waldron, molded me to this point where, okay, I was going to be a lawyer, and I like to talk, I like to argue, I would always get the end of the point. So I was going to be a lawyer. But after I went to convent, graduated, and went to Dominica State College, still very undecided. I started my first semester at Dominica State College with a major in sociology. Second semester added history. So not too sure. There was no psychology major, and I didn't know much about psychology. And then it was after that I got a job at SME. So I did the extremes. I was a convent girl, and then I became an SME girl.
Oh my goodness.
And I taught at SME, and that's where I made strong, lifelong relationships with people like Kushna, Telly McCarvest. And at SME, that's where I got my calling. I had boys, and I had certain remedial classes for Diana, and I found myself just gravitating towards the boys. Who Mr. Elwin used to always laugh when I say, Mr. Elwin, the boys are misunderstood.
Oh my.
And these were the boys who I gravitated towards. And I felt
the misunderstood
like
ones.
The misunderstood ones.
And that would be those who fall in what category? What those?
I saw them as misunderstood. So you'd have these boys.
What type of behavior
would come to school, and midway during the class, my book will fly across the class.
Oh my goodness.
Something will go on. They will call each other names. They will always be sent outside, always have suspensions and detentions and those things. And I had the two extremes. So I had the remedial classes, and the grades would sometimes be lower. And then I had the honors classes. These were the children, their parents brought them to school, kissed them goodbye. They always had snack in their Ziploc bags and everything. The grades were always A's. But for me, those boys were not a challenge, because what else could I do for them? They had everything. So it was those I felt who needed the fixing. And I always, up to this day, that song, Help My Brothers For Me, when I see them, I know this could have been me. That was always my line. And for then, I always felt like a child, as the song says, no child was born and chose to be bad. So I felt a boy wasn't just coming to school and saying, wait, today I'm going to be bad.
You don't think so?
There was no, I didn't think so back then, and I know that is not the case right now. So I always felt there was something. And I would spend time talking to those boys. And
you will have me intrigued.
There was the boys coming to school, they don't know who their father was. Father's incarcerated, come to school without breakfast, don't know what is for snack, going home, knowing they're going home to an empty house with nothing to eat. So they went through a lot. And society, it is easy to label these people. It is easy to call them bad and say they're doing it especially. And in our Dominican context is noticing they like and they're doing it. So this is what pushed me towards, you know what, I want to know really what is causing them to do that, and then in turn, how can I help them? So for my 2 years at SMA, I remember coming to school and I asked Mr. Elwin on day 6, I wanted to take my 4 formers to the prison. And he said, "What do you mean you want to take them to prison? But you're teaching maths." And I said,
You were teaching math?
I was teaching math and science. Math and science. But the younger ones, the upper school was my favorite. So the 3rd formers, the 4th formers, and people like Sheldon, Jelani,
You taught those boys?
Yes, I taught those boys. But Sheldon was one of those who, he wasn't misunderstood, so he wasn't my favorite. I wanted to hear me saying that. So I told the principal at the time I wanted to take the boys to
the state prison.
To the state prison, and he wanted to know why.
I want to know why too.
And I said, I felt I wanted them to see what they should not be or where they should not go. And he agreed. And I remember that day clearly. I had boys like Akel Rossi, I can call their names, and they were in my class. And when we went to the prison, it wasn't just a change for me, it was a change for them too. Where we both learned, and that was where it began. I realized that I wanted to work. So my first calling in psychology was working with young men. That is who I wanted to work with.
And before you continue, Lesley-Ann, it intrigued me that you actually took those young boys and brought them to the prison. First of all, what was their reaction when you told them that you were going to take them there?
Okay, so it was something that, first of all, before the prison day, we started this thing where day 6, because SMA there's not Monday to Friday, there's day 1 to 6. So day 6 was talk day. And I don't think the head of departments and anybody else knew that on a day 6 I wasn't teaching math. We would come and we would talk about any and everything. So because those boys, they're coming in the class and they have all of their burdens and they have all of their challenges, and then you as a teacher, you're a disciplinarian, you're just in front there and you're doing those things but not paying attention to what it is they're bringing with them. So we would spend a lot of time talking and different things. And then when I came up with that idea, I said, boys, I want us to go to the prison. I said, Miss Prison, why? And then I explained to them what I wanted them to see, what I wanted them to, and they actually had an assignment that after going to the prison they had to write about it.
So you turned English teacher?
Yes, I turned English teacher, everything. Everything. So we already had that rapport. WA5, I would come into that class and we know we had that rapport. So they were looking forward to it as much as I was looking forward to it.
So you brought them there, and what was the time spent at the prison like? What did you all do while you were there?
Okay. First of all, I will say I was disappointed when I got there. In that, I remember speaking to the superintendent and everybody and said, I wanted somebody close to their age who they could relate to. So they told me there was a boy in his 20s, a young man in his 20s. And we got there, it was after 8, and we had to wait about 20 minutes for the young man to come. And my students were like, what's going on?
They were agitated.
The guy came and he rubbed in his eyes and he said, boy, I just rise away.
Oh my goodness.
And I remember this one student I had from Point Michelle, they said, Miss, but I have to wake up so early and the man in jail and the man gets into sleep. So that was where it started. And then I had to just, get to pacify them and all of that. But he gave his story and I saw how attentive they were, and afterwards I was telling them, well, they don't listen to me like that in class. So they sat there and they listened to his story, and from when they wrote after, I realized that they really learned. Even walking through the yard, people were calling them and they were people they knew, and they said, boy, Mr. from Back, I didn't realize he was in jail and those things. So I think that I met my objective at the end of the day. My objective for them and also my objective for myself, as in this is the population I want to work with.
Wow. That is just something.
Yes, so that is where it started for me in terms of psychology. So I taught at SMA for 2 years, and then in 2006 I went to St. Thomas. I attended the University of the Virgin Islands, And again, it came back for Dinah. So while at UVI, my last semester, doing my internship, and it was at a school, and guess what happened? We had to spend a day in prison.
Oh my goodness!
But this time it was like a group of boys
Yes.
who were really
Yes.
delinquent and whatever, and they put them together and we spent the day in prison. And I'm like, wait a minute, is there something that's not for me?
It's quite an experience, you know. I've seen a few things. So I recall one experience being at the prison. They invited me to be there for a calypso competition that they had in the prison, and I remember going. And King Dice, I remember, was a guest. He was supposed to come in to guest performance for that. And from the time Dice started to sing, you could see that he was already emotional and he could not continue. And I remember him saying something, you know, using a certain word or phrase, and then he just left. In the middle of singing the song, when he started singing, he was actually singing the song My Brothers for Me.
Yes.
That was the song that Dice was singing, and Dice could just could not contain himself being there, because in his mind, I think he was probably thinking this really could have been me.
Yes.
And so he got so emotional, he really broke down and he left. He came back a little later, and I'm not sure if I can't remember if he still sang, but he did come back back to the prison, and that impacted me a bit on that day. Another time I went to the prison, I was invited, I seem to have been a regular there. I was invited to be part of what they call the Aegon Program.
Oh, yes,
And it was myself, I think it was myself and Cecil Joseph, and I think Darren Tit was supposed to be there but couldn't make it that day. And we had to they had to prepare application letters, and we had to read the application letters and do somewhat of an interview with them, a mock interview with them. And that as well touched me quite a bit. There were a couple of young persons in there. There were those that were in there for murder and so on. And I got to interact with those people. I had no fear, I had nothing of that sort. And I got to interact with them. About 20 of them were interviewed. I spent almost the entire day there. And that in itself also had a lasting impact on me as well. And I'm just sharing because you're actually talking about
that
yes.
Similar, yes.
And then back in the day when I used to be at DBS Radio, we would always go to the prison. They would do it to the infirmary, the prison, and what was the other location? I don't remember. But then we would go there every Christmas, and it would break my heart. I knew it was criminals who were there. And probably as a psychologist, you may maybe help me in understanding why I would feel that way. But I remember feeling very, very sorry. You know at what point I used to feel very sorry? We would allow them to send their greetings, and they would do all of that. But before we left, most times, that's when they would be filing them back into their cells. And just seeing them entering the rooms and going back to those cells, it really used to break my heart. But I'll give you one last joke before we continue. One year I went there, and that's the truth. Those are DBS who were there might remember. When I got there were necklaces with my pictures on them. There were books of poetry about me. There were at least 7.
So that means you were making that impact.
I was at DBS at the time, and they listened to DBS. I was doing the weekday program, and I'm sure that is what they would probably make them listen to. And so I don't know where they got the magazines. They would cut out my picture and do all of that. I never went back after that. Anyway, back to you, Lesley-Ann, in terms of having spent the time in
I spent that time there, and I felt like, wow, that's supposed to be some calling for me. So graduated from UVI and returned home, and also returning home I went back to SME. So from 2009 to 2011 I was back at SME, and I got some flack for it, like, you went to study and you come back.
That's what I'm thinking. I'll give you flack.
At that time there was nothing directly in my field.
Okay.
And why stay and sulk over it and stay home? I felt like I could go back and teach the same math and science, but now I have more tools to help those boys. So when I came back, there was some who were still there because I stayed about 3 years out. So there was some who were still there, but I met new ones because there are always new ones. And that time I realized I could do stuff with them. I did a lot with them. I became a pastoral care coordinator, which was a little close to being like the school counselor and stuff. But then it was difficult for me then because I couldn't be a teacher and be the counselor.
Yeah.
I couldn't be, because then that boy, I know what is going on at home. I know you didn't have dinner. I know your parents fighting. How I can fail you or give you a demerit for not doing your homework. So that was where it became challenging. And then I got the most amazing opportunity in 2011 to work at the psychiatric unit. Like that was the best part of it for me in terms of my career. I worked at the psychiatric unit from 2011 to 2014, so like 3 years. And during that time I did my master's. I did my master's online in clinical psychology at Waldron University. And for Diana, everything I read in the textbook, I saw it on the wall. So I hear people talking about online school being hard. Let me tell you, online school was a walk in the park for me because there was just continuity. I would read it in the night and I would go on the wall and I'd say, look at schizophrenia, this is bipolar disorder. Everything was just unfolding itself in front of me and I enjoyed it. I also got to be part of the concert that the psychiatric units would have and bring them together, I got Dice to sing with my brothers too.
He didn't break down this time, did he?
I think he did, because at any opportunity I get, I would want to, because for Dana, I saw classmates coming in, like classmates from primary school and people from all walks of life. And it made me truly understand that if you do not have certain things, there are certain protective factors in life that can determine where you go. So you may on your own, people say you are strong-willed and you have a strong head, whatever. You can have all of this, all of your hopes and dreams, your money, whatever, but without the protective factors, the support system, the environment to nurture whatever it is your passion is, you're not going to make it. And then I saw these people coming in and it caused me to realize the difference between the whole medical care and psychological or mental health care, because if your arm is broken, for Diana, you go to the hospital, the doctor puts on a cast and it will heal no matter what. Unless you do something or whatever, it will heal. But with mental health, you need that support. So you come in with major depressive disorder, no matter how big your house is and the car that's parked outside, you need people to come in, and that's where the family sessions and you bring in people, because at the end of the day, you need that support. So we are as strong as our network, and we need to remember that this is very important to have that network to ensure that you are mindful as to what you feed into your life. So there are people you may interact with on a daily basis and we work together, I see you, whatever, maybe very friendly, but in terms of having those people to be there and speak into your life, and when you have decisions to make, who are you going to? Do you have those people? And we need to be mindful of that. And that's one of the things I learned at the psychiatric unit, and it caused me to develop a greater sense of empathy. And I think empathy is putting yourself in somebody's shoes. And that is the greatest form of humility, because it is one thing for something to happen to someone. I say, oh, I feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for you, but I subtract myself from it. But when I feel sorry with you, because I understand it could be me, I could be in that situation, it really helps you in going through life and having that level of humility and being able to interact with others on that wavelength.
As we're speaking about mental health, who comes to the psychiatric unit?
Okay, I no longer work at the psychiatric
That's
unit.
all right. That's all right.
But who comes to the psychiatric unit? Anybody comes to the psychiatric unit. So there would have to be some form of appointment to come in as an outpatient. You get a referral from your out district or so. But in terms of who, there is no social status, no gender, no race, no age. Everybody comes through. I know when I worked there were certain times where you would expect more teenagers or more of a certain person, like during summertime you'll see more teenagers, etc. But I have seen the doctors, the lawyers, and that's why I come back to the point of it causing you to have that humbling experience, because you come to work and you realize, wow, you see that person on the ward, especially if somebody was admitted on the weekend, and you come on a Monday and they walk into ward rooms and you're like, wow, this person, so it could have been me. So anybody, it doesn't, mental illness, when you speak about mental illness, it doesn't have any category of people. But
it's like COVID then.
It's like COVID. But maybe even for COVID, you can say, okay, I spray, like it's my mask or whatever. Because there's something in terms of mental health, there's predisposition. So just as when you go to the doctor, they will take your medical history and ask you about your family background. Is there anybody in your family with diabetes, hypertension, etc.? With mental health, there is a genetic predisposition. Okay. So you may find, oh, I never took drugs, I never whatever it is. But you and I going through a same stressful situation, I may end up having a mental illness and being diagnosed with major depressive disorder where you are able to withstand it. So we have to look at different factors too that come in to play.
All right. So you spent some time there.
I spent some time
there.
Your
experience was a good one.
It was a very good one.
Were you able to help a few people?
I think I can say I helped people, and that was so. I look back and I say, okay, I feel safe walking in Rosa any time of the night, because I thought at SMA, I work at the prison, I work at psychiatric unit, so I know the good, the bad, the ugly, everybody. And I am happy when...
You worked at the prison as well?
Yes, because when we worked at the psychiatric unit, then we would do clinics at the prison.
Yes,
so I would see somebody like the vagrants, and I know their name and surname because you worked with them. And also in terms of mental health, another thing you realize, one of the ways or perception, we see people who are mentally ill as, oh, they are violent and whatever. A lot of times the violence is based on how we treat them. Because I have never seen it in my work in mental health, as in any person who has a major mental illness being aggressive towards one of the caregivers or one of the professionals. You find them on the ward, you find them in the prison, and they are people like all of us.
Not because of the medication
no,
you're into them.
No, but then we treat them a certain way, so it's like a reciprocity towards how we are treating them. But so I'm not saying there are not times when they are violent and you just know you're going to stay away, but I have never had those situations where I felt afraid. I just know, okay, this person is acutely ill and they get very aggressive, so I'm going to stay away from you for a while, but you're not going to have that level of fear instilled.
What would you like to say to us as it relates to mental health and the way that we treat people with mental health, or the way that some of us may think it could never happen to me, it could never be me. I can get depressed.
Of course you can.
You know, I can get depressed. Any situation can get me depressed. I am, going to school. I could be depressed over very overwhelmed, like I was in the last couple of weeks, before our final assignments and so on. So a lot of times people say people lose their mind, one, because of drugs. They say because of what we call GP, local parlance, somebody break your heart. And these are mostly the areas that people think that people's mental health get disrupted over. And that, from what you're saying, is not the case.
No, because as I said earlier, we look at genetic predisposition, chemical imbalance in your brain. So there are different factors a lot of times that we cannot control, and the more you are accepting of it and realizing. So for example, if you have a family history and my family, the Esprits, there's a strong mental health background. I luckily have no family members, immediate family members, but I keep that in mind, and somebody might knock me out for saying that on the radio. I keep that in mind, and you have to learn to disconnect. You have to, because in our everyday life, we work a lot, and a lot of times we overcompensate, and people will say, well, I didn't have this when I was younger, my parents didn't have this, so I'm going to try my best to ensure. And then we go overboard, and then you get overwhelmed, and you can end up having a major mental health challenge because you have that genetic predisposition. So we have to be mindful. You need to know yourself too. When you talk about introspection, and you mentioned a while ago you had the past couple of weeks where you felt like you were not okay because you had a lot to do with school. So that's where you cut off and you say, I can't do certain things. So you decided, I'm going to put my show on pause for a while.
Exactly.
Right? So we have to have that level of balance You need to know when to disconnect, when to have that little self-care. You go on the beach, you go for a drive, do different things just to get, because this is important.
In terms of those who get into that situation because of drug-related situations, how do we deal with these people? How do we handle them? How do you handle them?
Well, so right now I don't work directly with them in that population because I work at the general hospital now. But I know it is very challenging for families. And in a Dominican context, it's always easy to say, oh, it's wicked, they're wicked, somebody spoil them, whatever it is. But then if somebody is wicked enough to every day come to Roseville, or just be in Roseville, living on the streets, don't want to be in a house, eating from the garbage, whatever, that level of wicked is sick. And as long as we don't accept that the person is sick, then you're going to be constantly battling against it. Family members need to seek help, not just help for your family member with mental illness, but also with you too. And that's one of the things we'd always do: bring in family members and have psychoeducation where you explain to them. Because if you don't understand, you're going to be constantly fighting over it, and you're going to get burnt out. You can even get sick too. I've seen family members get sick in the process of helping their family members with a major mental health disorder. So you need to be educated about it and seek help, seek professional help, reach out to other family members. You know what, I cannot do it alone. These are certain things. And the last part is accepting certain realities. So this is your brother. You wish you would dress up in a shirt and tie and go to work, but this is your brother and this is not who he is. He has a major mental illness, just as somebody else would have had diabetes or hypertension, and this is what it is. You may have to deal with him for the rest of your life, feed him, do whatever it is. Set your boundaries though. So certain times you have to do that tough love and love from a distance. So I love you, but I will only give you food, I will not give you money because I know you're going to take the money to buy drugs. So you have to stand your ground, but you also need to accept this is the person's reality, and they are not going based on their situation if they do not have insight themselves. So you can fight every day to give them medication and do different things. If they do not accept that they are sick, they do not accept what is getting them sick or what could get them better, then they're not going to get better. So this is their reality, and I'm just going to work around it.
Yes, and I focused on that a bit because I saw a good friend that many of us probably know who that good friend is. Just a couple of days ago, and I saw him and my heart just broke. He didn't even ask me, and I just opened my purse and I made sure that I gave him something, and I said to him, I'm even tearing up. I said to him, get yourself some breakfast. And he was all tattered and soiled and so on. And I'm saying, how can he get better? I know efforts have been made.
That's where the social support comes in.
How can he get better? And it's really disheartening, and I don't know what can be done, again to assist this person, but something definitely has to be done. And those of us who go by and we see him, even if whatever, get him some breakfast. If you don't want to give him the cash, get him some breakfast, get him something to eat, but help him in whatever way possible. Is disheartening. So Lesley-Ann, you're done with that area. Is that an area you would like to go back to work?
Yes, it is always part of me. So for me, I don't think I would. So I'm a clinical psychologist. That is who I am. I cannot do therapy every day, all day.
Okay.
I think I did it straight for 4 years, and in between that, I would do on and off. But right now, I basically pick what clients I want to see.
Okay.
Because I still love psychology, but my new passion is industrial and organizational psychology in an HR perspective.
Yes.
And that's where I work right now in the hospital. So dealing in more of that level where you could deal with psychology, the psychology of work and motivation and how people do different things. Why do they do different things? So yes, I still love clinical psychology. I still do psychotherapy, but it's not something I would go back to my 8 to 4.
8 to 4.
No.
Okay. A final question on that area. As a clinical psychologist or somebody who does psychotherapy, how do you care for yourself?
Okay.
In terms of, having to deal with that. For example, when you did it for 4 years, how do you care for you in this process?
For me, I will say that I have a therapist. And just before I came on the program, I was writing on one of my friends, Shoya Gynecomastia. Shoya is one of my very good friends. She's a clinical psychologist here, and Shoya is all in her private practice, and Shoya is my therapist. I also have another therapist who's my good friend. She's in St. Martin now, Mrs. Soto. And Mrs. Soto and I worked together for 4 years, and we ensured that we had 2 principles that we were guided by. One, people outside of the office not supposed to know if we have noise. So that was us. If we had our challenges, the other co-workers would not know. We have to deal with it, because we need to work with other people, and if we're fighting against each other, we cannot work with other people.
True.
And we would not end the day without debriefing. Okay. So as a psychologist, a lot of things come to you, and you can get overwhelmed, and it's a lot of load. Emotional baggage is heavier than any heavy suitcase you can carry. So we ensured that at the end of every day we would disconnect. Now that I don't have that physical person anymore, but we still do it online. So I have my therapist. I will send Shoya a message and say, Shoya, I need to talk to you. Someone, I need to talk to you. So I have those people, and I consider that I have multi-purpose friends. So I have friends for almost every little thing that I need, and I don't burden anybody. So as a psychologist, I have my people that I can go, who I can go to, and I will talk to, and I know that it's without judgment. I can just peel off the mask and be who I need to be, so that they can help me. And I pay attention to how I feel, how I feel about a situation. So I got very angry about the situation, and I need to know why I got angry. Why did I act out of character? Why did this patient I saw, I felt very sad about it. And it's just a patient, because after working at the hospital for a while, it becomes a patient. But this specific one, you feel that way, and you need to pay attention, do that introspection. So I do that, and I just try to carry psychology in every aspect of my life.
So is that your way of saying, Leslie, and not to interject, that you cannot get emotional and you cannot connect too personally to a situation or a client?
No, that is not true. I connect, I get emotional, but that's the moment after I have to ask myself, why? Yeah. Because this client came to me as a total stranger, and I've heard so much before. But this specific one resonated to me, so I need to know why is it bothering me. And if I cannot picture out the why, I will call one of my psychologist sisters, and we will talk about it as well. Because I try my best not to carry it around for Dinah, because there's a lot going on, and everyday lives we have a lot going on. So to carry other people's baggage, some people may get offended by it at times. So you may have friendships, and you just realize, you know what, that friend, we good, but I cannot carry you as much as I used to, because it is a lot. And we can be good, we can be cool, but I cannot carry it as much. And you have to, because we have to take care of our mental health, as not just as a psychologist, but as people in general. We need to take care of our mental health.
All right, and how do we do that before we move on?
We need to have a good support system. We need to do the introspection to realize what is bothering me, why it is bothering me. We need to take breaks. We need to know that no is a complete sentence. N-O full stop. I can't always do things for people, because you cannot perform an empty jar.
Sure. Okay. Oh, this is Lesley-Ann Waldron-Martin, our clinical psychologist, in studio with us on the program. Tonight we still have another element to speak to. And how can the listeners ask questions to your guest? All right, we will open up the lines at some point, but I'll tell you when we will be able to do that. We have to look at, before we take the break, we have to speak to Lesley-Ann about where she moved on to post leaving the psychiatric unit. And then we'll take a break, and then we'll come to talk about the World Pediatric Project, which I think you need to really do stick around to hear a bit more about. So Lesley-Ann, you moved away from, you were moved? Or
yes, I was moved, voluntarily moved from the psychiatric unit to what you call a general hospital, because psychiatric unit is like an extension to the hospital, and I worked as the hospital social welfare officer from, that was August 2014 to, what was last month? July 2020. I worked as a hospital social welfare officer, and with that it was a different aspect for me. So I came away from the major mental illnesses and the schizophrenias and all of that, and worked with more end of life, dealing with dialysis, oncology, and this thing. So the medical part of it, so almost a medical social worker.
Okay.
So people with medical conditions who also have a psychological aspect because of their medical condition. So that part was a bit harder. Okay. Because when I worked at the psychiatric unit, you hardly saw people cry. Unless there was someone with major depressive disorder. When the patients come in and they have schizophrenia and bipolar disorder and they start to sing and dance and whatever, it was always something you would be, because you meet manic patients and patients with all different types. But then you go into this dying. And I remember there's this one man, I remember him clearly. He went to school with my father, and he was one I connected to because of his age and everything. He was on dialysis, and I would actually call that man on a Sunday morning and tell him, Joel Austin is preaching something, I need you to listen to it. And we got very tight, and the man died. And I remember asking the nurse, so we organizing a bus now to go to funeral? And I said no, and that was my reality, that people were dying, and it was just, this patient died, that patient died. Not saying they didn't have empathy, but it was something that was just happening all the time.
And go to funeral.
And yes, and when I was at the psychiatric unit, people were not dying because they come in,
that's a
you
new
know they're going
reality.
to be gone for a couple months, and then carnival come in, they drink whatever they come back in. But this new reality, I'm dealing with people making plans, and then your name on a death announcement because your patient. So it was a new reality, something very different, something I didn't like in the beginning.
Wow.
And then with time, I tried to tweak it a bit and then deal with patients who had stillbirth. So maybe it is a little less than, in my view, it was a little at that time. It was a little less than dealing with the father who died and whatever it is. But I did it for a while. There was a time I used to say I got demotivated because I felt I was at work and I wasn't doing much. But I did it. And in the meantime, between, I'll do the little one-on-one psychotherapy, and one of my other passions is teaching. So during that time, I was an adjunct lecturer at Dominica State College, so I taught Intro to Psychology. The classroom is where I come alive. So I would get in front of the classroom and I would forget everything that, the work you feel burnt out. But then you come there and you can impart knowledge and all of that. So during the time, whenever I would feel down because work wasn't working, I have this friend, Eddie. Eddie would say, you know how to do an online course, you know how to do whatever it is. So I would take up the time and do different things to keep myself. And then in July, I got the opportunity to act as facilities manager at the hospital. So that's why I call it about the umbrellas and this thing. And then coming as facilities manager, I'm like, what? I don't know anything about a facility and about all of that. But I felt the powers that they felt I could do it. So if they felt I could do it, what made me feel discouraged? Why should I be discouraged? And I have been doing it a little more than a month now. Very different, but I think it now puts in my area where I spoke about industrial and organizational psychology, the psychology of work. So I am looking at this and people are saying, that is hard working, it's plenty hours and whatever. The difference between that and the other jobs that I have done before is that you're on task all day. So they will go by and I didn't update my WhatsApp status, and because before you had that little time to check this thing, but you're always on task. And I think it helps me because after a while, and I think that's generally what should happen in jobs, like you should change a little thing now and then, because I hear people saying I've been doing that for 20 years, I don't want to do anything for 10 years for right now. So I got this new thing and I like new things. I get excited about new things. But this new thing was a bit different, and I felt uncomfortable at first because the city is different and I don't have as much autonomy as I used to. But I am going to make it work. And it has been a month and a half, and I will say I am enjoying it so far.
Good.
And it's just something new, another new thing that I will get old at a point, and then you want to do something new again.
And then you will be doing something new again, I'm sure.
Yes,
Yes. All right, 8:57 is the time in our studios. We're supposed to be linking up with someone, but I hope she's still up and still waiting.
Janelle is still going to come
Right.
on. Janelle in La Plaine, she's still going to come on.
Okay, so we need to have a little chat before we get to Janelle.
Okay.
So we're going to take a break and we'll come back again. I love your energy, Lesley-Ann. I mean, normally when I'm here hosting the program, I'm normally to my mic, but if you notice, I've turned towards you and I'm like watching.
I think I'm ignoring the mic and everything, and we're just talking, right?
We're just talking. And we're coming right back. Keep it locked to the In the Spotlight radio show. Again, we say thank you to a few folks. We want to thank again 365 Car Rental. Their number is 276-2833. As I mentioned earlier, I have my car is in the shop for a couple of days, and so I needed transportation for tonight, and they were very, very kind to allow me one of their vehicles to get to the program and to get back. So I'm greatly appreciative of that. And I just want to encourage you, if you're looking for a rental, you should check out the guys at 365 Car Rental in Point Michelle. Their number is 276-2833. And again, Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited, we want to thank them for providing us with their water throughout the course of the program. And you, our amazing, very valuable listeners and viewers, we thank you for tuning into our program as well tonight. No matter where you are in any part of the world, we thank you for choosing us. We're coming right back. Keep it locked.
In the Spotlight on Q95 FM Radio, every Monday night from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight, featuring people from all walks of life. Spotlight is your triumphs and tribulations, dreams, hopes, aspirations, untold stories, touching the human and personal side of politics, religion, sports, business, music, culture, the media, and more. Get it to know our farmers, our public servants, youth, and the ordinary Dominicans. Listen to their stories. No limitations, no restrictions, no holds barred. In the Spotlight will also spotlight interesting topics, issues, and relevant situations. Don't miss In the Spotlight on Q95 FM Radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight.
In the Spotlight on Q95 FM Radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight, featuring people from all walks of Dominican life, spotlighting their triumphs and tragedies, dreams, hopes, and aspirations, untold stories, touching the human and personal side of our people in politics, religion, sports, business, music, culture, the media, and more. Getting to know our farmers, public servants, youth, the ordinary Dominican. Listen to their stories. No limitations, no restrictions, no holds barred. In the Spotlight, we'll also spotlight interesting topics, issues, and relevant situations. Don't miss In the Spotlight on Q95 FM Radio every Monday night from 8 p.m.
In the Spotlight on Q95 FM Radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight, featuring people from all walks of Dominican life, spotlighting their triumphs and tragedies, dreams, hopes, aspirations, untold stories, touching the human and personal side of our people in politics, religion, sports, business, music, culture, the media, and more. Getting to know our farmers, our public servants, youth, and the ordinary Dominican. Listen to their stories. No limitations, no restrictions, no holds barred. In the Spotlight will also spotlight interesting topics, issues, and relevant situations. Don't miss In the Spotlight on Q95 FM Radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. in the Spotlights.
Past 9 o'clock. For those of you who are viewing via social media, via Facebook, you might be hearing a little chatter in the background. We're just trying to get through to someone who's supposed to, she was actually supposed to be here with us physically, but lives all the way in our plane and couldn't put the arrangements in place to be here with us physically. So we're hoping that we can link up with her sometime soon once we establish what it is that we're going to talk about. So Leslie and I really enjoyed the first part of this, just getting to know a bit more about you and talking a bit about clinical psychology and talking about mental health and so on. But now we're going to talk about something that is very dear to you. Tell us first of all how this came about and what it is.
Okay, I am the country representative, Dominica country representative for the World Pediatric Project. And for Dinah, the World Pediatric Project came about during that time when I was maybe a little bored at work. And I spoke about always wanting to do something else. And I got to know about it through Rotary and then applied and then got it. And I didn't know anything about it before. And I got so excited just getting to know about the program and then also even getting to put in some psychology in it. So what is it? The World Pediatric Project, it is a US-based organization, non-profit, and its objective or its goal is to physically ill children and to build healthcare capacity worldwide.
Repeat that.
So there's a US-based non-profit organization, and its main goal is to heal critically ill children. Critically ill, yes. So not just the average little major illnesses, and build healthcare capacity in the world. Now, the main offices, there's Richmond, Virginia, and St. Louis, Missouri. But in the Caribbean, there's what we call the Eastern Caribbean Initiative, ECI, of which St. Vincent is the hub. So how World Pediatric Project works? The surgeons, they come from the US and then they travel for different missions to St. Vincent.
Okay.
The Milton Cato Hospital, that's the main hospital in St. Vincent. The operation theater and everything was retrofitted by WPP. The teams come down and then our people, our children, our families from the different islands feed into St. Vincent. That's where they receive care. Now, WPP reaches a wide number of subspecialties for pediatrics, as the word says, World Pediatric Project. But WPP goes from zero, and World Pediatric Project, affectionately known as WPP. WPP goes from 0 to 21 years old. So it is far beyond pediatric. And for children who are already in the program, we're not going to drop you because you face you celebrated your 21st birthday. You're already in the program.
Okay.
And we do almost everything except oncology and organ transplant or some. There's more cost-effective, not cost-effective, very expensive, because something like oncology, you have to be ongoing with treatment for chemo and those things. So we look at a number of different areas, including orthopedics, so that would be with the bone specialty, neurosurgery with the brain, plastic surgery, scoliosis. We also look at urology, physical therapy, ophthalmology, so it's a wide spectrum. And almost every month, there's a different specialty where the team travels to St. Vincent. My role here is to help and to work alongside my pediatrician, who is the point person pediatrician, Dr. Cassandra Williams. She works at the hospital and she's amazing. And Dr. Williams is my guide. And I am the connect between the Dr. Williams and the families in Dominica and the World Pediatric Project. So I had to do promotions, let people know about the project and all of that. WPP works miracles for our children because there are a lot of things that, first of all, we don't have here. We don't have the capacity here to perform such surgeries. And secondly, our families can't afford to pay for it even if they had to go abroad, right? So children from all areas, the health centers, the health districts would refer the children to Dr. Williams at the hospital, because the goal of WPP is that the children are not going to pay for anything. So they would not be referred to a private doctor. Okay. They're referred to Dr. Williams. Dr. Williams does the investigations, whatever she has to do, and then we send up the referrals. It is reviewed by the teams in the US, and then they give a date, make a decision as to if the child travels to St. Vincent. The more critical cases, the children travel to the US. And all of our heart surgeries, they travel to the US because of how complex it is. Also, once a year, we have a cardiology clinic here. So, for example, this year, it was the week before Carnival. So I think it was the 14th and 15th of February. We had 2 cardiologists who flew from St. Louis, came to Dominica, and saw a total of, I think it was 80-something children. The year before, we had 100 and something children.
And cardiologist deals with the
heart. So they come down and they set up the echo machines, they do all of that, and they see our children. At the end of it, then they do referrals.
They came to Dominica.
They came to Dominica at Princess Margaret Hospital, and they see our children. Our parents are always looking forward to that because there are children who have been coming for years. And the new referrals, they come in through the district and they come in and they see the cardiologist. We now have a cardiologist on our team, Dr. Rachel Andrew, and this year we were blessed in that. Yes, Dr. Andrew is here. Yes. And Dr. Andrew worked alongside our cardiologist from WPP, and they saw those children. So also we spoke about capacity building. So our doctors, so I know Dr. Deshose, Dr. George, they have gone to St. Vincent. These are our orthopedic surgeons. When the teams come in, they go to St. Vincent and then they are able to participate and shadow the pediatric specialists when they're doing. So it's not just that they're doing the surgeries and leaving, but they're also helping in training our specialists down here.
So St. Vincent, tell me what St. Vincent is again?
St. Vincent is the hub.
It's the hub.
So St. Vincent, we have a team. Our team leader, our head of the Eastern Caribbean initiative is Miss Lauren McIntosh. Then we have Jackie King over there. So whatever happens here, I relay to the team in St. Vincent. So I answer to St. Vincent.
And they're the hub for
the Eastern Caribbean initiative. So the children from St. Kitts, from Antigua, from St. Lucia, they fly over to St. Vincent. Okay. And that's where they receive care. Now, the more complex cases, as I said, and all cardiology cases where children have to actually receive some form of intervention in cardiology, they go to the US. What we have, which is just really amazing, is a partnership with American Airlines through the Miracle Flights. So our families in Dominica, they do not have to pay to go to St. Vincent, to go to the US. And so accommodation, ground transportation, and airfare, all provided. For that, these are things that we would never be able to afford. When you talk about, and Johnny will come on in a while and talk to us about Zane, and how Zane has been to Richmond and stayed months over there, and all of the surgeries and stuff that they have done for Zane. And these are things that we would never be able to support on our own as parents, as locals, and even in terms of the government, it would deplete a lot of our resources if the government had to spend so much on one child. The government really helps. When a child has to go to St. Vincent, they, not to St. Vincent, well, even to St. Vincent, they help with airfare and so, but the US one is where the bulk of the money comes in. Because before you go to the US, you need a visa. So that parent, most times the children are underage, so the parent could travel for the visa without the child. The parent has to go to Barbados, pay the 160 US per person once, twice for they and the child. That's a lot. So a lot of times the government through Social Security, Rapid Response really helps in Ministry of Health, really helps in supporting that. And after they get their visas, they go on to the US where the Miracle flies and WPP takes care of them. Every appointment, we have volunteers in the US, so the volunteers will pick them up for their appointments, drop them off, stay with the children, sometimes for the parents to get a little nap while all of that is going on. So it is amazing, and a lot of times I think our families don't know about it. We try to do as much as awareness. Janelle was on Q95 with me before in a Jolly's program. We have posters in the different health districts, but we are creatures of habits, and we know we go Matnik and Guadeloupe. And I'm not saying anything wrong with Matnik and Guadeloupe, but in terms of the cost. Because Matnik and Guadeloupe always have a cost to it. It may be free to you, but the government is paying for it. But what we have had though, we had 2 children in the last year who WPP realized Matnik is there and these children are critically ill and they needed to do some form of intervention. I know they were both cardiology intervention, and WPP paid the hospital in Matnik to do these procedures for our children. Right now we have another child here in Dominic, and I know Dr. Williams is working feverishly to try to see if WPP can get that child to go to Matnik because of the barriers towards going to the US. So it is a very good program, and for that there are certain things, even certain specialties that I didn't know about, and I know parents didn't know about it. So for example, there's this gynecomastia.
What is that?
It is in male breasts. And we see adults, we see young boys walking around with breasts, and then we say, oh, maybe they're too fat, they need to lose weight, and they find they're losing weight, and the more weight they lose, it become more pronounced. And I had a 20-year-old, 20-year-old who did that surgery this year, and for Dinah, it makes a major difference because this is a young man. When I was talking to him, he said that he loved swimming. But he felt at a certain point that he must wear a t-shirt, and after a while he just stopped going to the beach because he felt very uncomfortable. And then he tried losing weight, tried going to the gym, but it wasn't going away, and did not realize that that was a medical condition. And through the plastic surgery mission, which was in February, and it's February every year, that's one of the things that's very organized. So we know ahead of time. So I know if everything goes well, in January we're going to have general surgery. In February we have plastic surgery. So he went in February for plastic surgery, and when he came back and he sent me pictures, and he was just so confident. And I see him now, and we smile at each other because I know how he felt before and being able to do that surgery. So a lot of parents, there's certain things they don't know. We have children, teenage. We had a like 12, 13-year-old who had undescended testes. And
what are those things?
Look over the testicles didn't drop.
Oh
So
my goodness.
you call it undescended testes. And the urology mission, which is in October every year, the young man went and he had that surgery, and then you can live a normal life, and you come back and you don't have a medical bill to deal with. So it's just about knowing and referring. And sometimes if you don't know, if you're not sure if it is a problem, still go to your health center and talk about it and get that referral, and then you see Dr. Williams.
Are your doctors and nurses across the island aware of the program, and are they informed as to what needs to be done?
Yes, they are aware. As I said, we have posters at all our health centers. We try to do awareness periodically, go back over there. We get a lot of support. And specifically from the surgeons, I know like Dr. Frederick, the general surgeon, because although Dr. Williams would be the one who would refer the child, after surgery they come back, we try to refer them to the specialist. So that child who had surgery for scoliosis, which would be the curvature of the spine, on return they would be referred to one of the orthopedic surgeons. The general surgeon would go to Dr. Frederick. So we have support from the Ministry of Health, from our fellow surgeons down here.
And I know a bit about this because we've already spoken about it. But I just feel there's probably quite a few persons out there who do not know about this program. In fact, somebody just posted that this program is worthy of sharing. Truly, somebody says, truly appreciate you informing us of these benefits for our challenged families and our country. And I really hope that this program helps in creating that awareness that needs to be created, because there may be parents out there with situations that they don't even know about. They don't know if they can actually get help, probably just holding their child because they're saying, well, there's nothing like that in Dominica. I may not be able to get any assistance, any support for my child. But there is this program, and I remember being very intrigued too when you spoke to me about this program. And I'm saying, well, I never knew about it, you know, before. And you know, I was really inspired by all of it and what it could do for our children. How many of our children have gotten assistance so far from the World Pediatric Project in Dominica from the time it started?
From the time it started.
So, by the way, one more thing. Did it start when you actually became...
No. So, I am the first country representative.
Okay.
But then when Dr. Rhonda McIntyre was the pediatrician here, she actually had children going out through the World Pediatric Project.
Okay.
So, I have here my value of service report.
Yes.
And we're saying from 2008, that's when we started in Dominica. But it was like 1-1 until we increased sometime around 2014-15, the numbers increased significantly. So from 2008 to 2019, based on the children who received care in the United States, we had 21 children who received care in the United States, Dominican children, and the total amount is $11,389,674 EC dollars. That is what that value of service for those children, 11 million for Dinah. When we look at the visiting teams, so that means the children actually going to St. Vincent we have another $17 million coming in. Well, not being spent by our families and the government.
Dominica again.
Dominican children. So my report is Dominican children. So it is a lot for Dinah. When we speak about it, the value of care, the total number of individual children seen in the US. So we have had 17 children sponsored for care internationally. So that means the children who are not going directly to our WPP program, but they like Shriners or some hospital in Florida, or even the children who went to Martinique, as I spoke about, they too would add up to those figures when we are talking about in the millions of dollars.
And that continues to happen even today.
It continues to happen even today. So right now, because of travel restrictions, our last mission was somewhere around February, March. So, but even in the fact that we're not able to travel, or children are not able to travel, there's still some form of support. So we are still sending across images, and they're giving consultation to our doctors, actually setting up different sessions and work related consultations so that our doctors can continue to learn, and we are preparing for when everything comes back. So we are looking, our fingers crossed, we're looking forward to having a scoliosis clinic in Dominica in September. Okay. That would be the first scoliosis clinic we'll have ever had. And WPP is setting up to have that in Antigua. So as long as we have a flight that will come to Dominica, when they ask, will your people be coming? I say, yes, our people will be looking forward to coming. So yes, that is something, it will continue as long as we tap into it. So sometimes I get fearful, like, oh my God, our numbers are maybe decreasing because not many people, we need our numbers. So it's not like I'm saying we want our children to be sick, but we need our children who are sick to come forward. Help. Because at the end of the day, if we have two cardiologists, or we have an orthopedic surgeon who's willing to come here, and then people are not coming to the clinics, then they're going to pull out. And then we see places like St. Lucia running with it, and they're doing very well in terms of their numbers. So we need to ensure that we tap into that resource. And I always tell people, just call me, feel free. My number is 275-7444. call me, send me a message if you have a question about it. If you're not sure what the situation is, I will direct you to Dr. Williams.
Somebody actually just posted, one of our viewers just posted that her son actually got some help from WPP. Now our lovely lady who have we been able to make contact with?
Yes, so yes. Janelle.
Yes. Tell Janelle to give us a call now.
Janelle, I need you to call now. The number is 4493095, and Janelle and Zane's story is just so amazing. Zane was born and then Janelle went to Martinique, came back, and when the cardiologist, Dr. Rahimi, was here, Dr. Williams said Janelle and Zane, they're upstairs, and she introduced him to Janelle and Zane, and they went ahead, and from that, Janelle and Zane, they have been to the US twice doing major heart surgery, and she's going to call in.
Yes, we're waiting for her to call in. We would have really loved to have her in studios with us, but that was the initial plan, but she was not able to get through to being in studios with us. So we're just waiting for her to come and share her story and her son's story and the support that they got from WPP in terms of medical support, and what we've been speaking about here tonight on the program with Mrs. Lesley-Ann Waldron-Martin. So we will take a break just quickly, or we'll just get the theme song going while we await our guests to call us quickly. And after that, one or two persons wanted to know how they could make contact with our guests if they wanted to call. We'll see if we can take some calls as well for you on the program tonight. Keep it locked. Okay, that should be her. Is he calling? Let's see. Hello, good evening. Hello? Okay. There we go. I wasn't pressing hard enough, I suspect.
I thought Janelle was getting cold feet.
You can put on your headphones, Lesley-Ann. All right. Hello, good evening. Is that Janelle? How are you? Okay, it is so nice to have you on the program this evening.
Yeah.
Okay, Janelle, I'm going to allow you to speak to us and to share with us your story and your son's story and how this organization and Mrs. Martin here gave you some support. Go ahead.
Okay, well, my name is Janelle Thomas. I'm from Lesley-Ann. My son Zane was born with heart issues, and I got to know Lesley-Ann because of that. And she has been working with us for since 2018. They had his first surgery in 2018, first open heart surgery in 2018, and another one in 2019. Lesley-Ann has been with us all the time, very concerned, always keeping in touch. I think she has seen me cry many times already. And it has been a rough journey, but coping.
Tell me about your son.
Okay, he's Zane, handsome, active. If you see him, you will not even think that he ever had a surgery. He was born at the hospital where we recognized that he had issues with us. We went to Martinique when he was 2 weeks old, where he had his first procedure done. And from that, they said that he needed an open heart surgery in the future because of the condition of his heart. It was so strange that they were worried that he had to get the surgery before he was 1 year old. So we went to Dr. McIntyre at that time. She was the person in charge of the of them going to Matnik at the time. And her organization has been helping to go to Matnik. And he had that surgery, he recovered very well. So we were supposed to go back to Matnik so that he could have an echo done to decide when they could set up an appointment for him to go to either Cayman Islands or to Miami to have a surgery. But I can't remember, he was sick at the time because at that time he was very sick. We were in and out of the hospital, like it was our second home.
Oh.
And we missed that appointment in Matnik. So I was worried that he would never have that surgery. And then one day I got a phone call from a lady who was Lesley-Ann, and she asked me if I was interested in bringing Zane to the hospital because the WPP was coming to the hospital at that time, Dominic at that time. So I was so excited that that part was taken care of. So we went and did not stand, and sometime after, they called us back saying that Zane was a candidate to have the surgery done in Virginia. Yeah, that's basically it, I think.
When if it's not too much of a personal question to ask, how did you feel as a mother, knowing that your child that you gave birth to was having major heart issues?
I think I had more pain in my heart than Zane, who was the baby having the actual surgery. He was so small that he wasn't aware of anything. So it was me. I was the one feeling all the pain. The ups and downs, seeing him under all the tubes, seeing him trying to get to me because he was so tiny that he wanted to be in my arms and that I just could not have him because he was always on the machine and had tubes connected to him. And so I used to be so miserable. I don't think that I ever recovered from that. I think I am still, like at night, sometimes I get up to check on him to make sure that he's breathing or that he's, that kind of thing. So it was wrong.
In situations like this, in terms of the financial element, was that a burden for you?
Well, I work and I had some family who could assist me. The government of Dominica came as well on board. I remember the Prime Minister was always asking about Zane. And Dr. McIntyre, she never gave up on us either. She always looked before. She and her had foundation, they looked before us. So in terms of support, I had that. Because the last time I went like on leave without pay, and I managed to spend a couple of months. Good enough. That's okay.
And how do you feel about the support that you received through the WPP?
Oh, I think that was one of the biggest blessings in Dave's life. Because to see a child that was so sick internally, and then you looking at him and not being able to decide, okay, will he be okay? Will he whatever? WPP came at the time that his life was, he had to do, in fact, we went up the last time, they said it was like prepared for 6 weeks, and we ended up staying for a month. Because the first procedure that they did, they had to go back and open his heart, they had to cut his chest again to fix up certain issues. And he still had to return. This year was because of Corona, he could not, because all the issues that they fixed the last time, they have to fix them again. As he's growing, they realize that certain things have to be done. So if it wasn't for WPP, I don't know how I would have made it on my own to pay for such surgery.
Don't cry, my darling. Don't break down. How is Zane doing?
in Guadeloupe right now with my husband. He has been there since corona started, not being able to come back home. But he's fine. He's very fine. They had problems eating, and they wanted us to stay another 6 months so that they could put feeding tube for him to eat, because after surgery he started losing weight instead of gaining weight. So they wanted to stay to do an experiment on him to see how he could eat better. And so, but God is so good that the cardiologist said he could not send him to his environment to see if he would restore it. And he has been doing so well. He's eating on his own, asking for food, taking all he wants. He's doing well, he's fine.
How old is he now? Okay, he's 3 years old. What is the next step for now?
I think the next step is waiting for coroner start to decide what Lesley-Ann and then do.
Okay, hold the line. So in terms of what exactly is his situation as we speak?
So yes, as Janelle said, saying but before he was supposed to go to the US, but even before that he was supposed to go to St. Vincent for general surgery because he has a hernia, and the average child would be able to do this here and feel okay, but because of what Zane has gone through before, WPP felt safer doing the surgery with the similar surgeons who did it in the US. So he would have been going to St. Vincent to have that hernia repair and then go off to the US. Zane can never be forgotten, so it's another situation of delay but not denial. So his name is there, and everybody at WPP, they know Zane, and people always ask about Zane because his story was very different. I think Janelle was even saying that they asked to publish some of his information, and so because a lot of it was very new. So Zane would never be forgotten, and as soon as things get back on the ball, get back rolling, then we'll be back again making preparations for Zane to go back. And yes,
but no more heart surgeries, I hope.
Where I sit, I do not
you
know.
Do not know.
They would make that decision.
Okay.
But for Diana, just to interject a bit in terms of Janelle, and I tell her all the time, but Janelle does an amazing job. And when Janelle she sends pictures all the time of Zane, and just a couple nights ago she told me she feels scared every time Zane jumps or if he falls or whatever, because she thinks something is going to happen. And she is a strong woman, and there were days when Janelle would run away from me and calling Janelle, we have to go to organize to go to Barbados, and Janelle is disappearing.
Oh my goodness.
And I later found out like Janelle would just be having that meltdown, and thank God for the support that she has, and she would be able to open up and talk about it. And whenever she gets the opportunity to talk about Zane's story and WPP, she does that. So we are grateful for that as much as she's grateful for the program. But I would just like to remind her that she's an amazing mother, and Zane would not have been able to make it without her.
And that is so important. It even brings me to ask, did you have to put on your psychology cap a couple of times when Janelle was concerned?
Many times, yes.
Janelle, are you still with us? Okay, how are you feeling? How are you feeling right now about everything?
Well, right now, saying that we have to return, my fear is that there tends to be a smaller procedure, but I have the fear that they are going to cut him again. And then, it's like the first time I went, I was petrified. The second time I went, I was like, okay, it's going to be better. But I think I broke down even more. So this time around, I'm testing myself, how strong am I to even go for that again? You know?
But you know what, though, Janelle? I can tell that you love your son, and I can tell that you want your son to be well. So I know that God will give you the strength that you need to be able to go through it again, if that is what it comes down to. And I know all of the persons who are listening right now, they're talking about how much of a strong person that you are. I think all of these people are going to be praying for you and praying for your son, that when the time comes and you have to return, please do not duck Lesley-Ann's calls.
I know where to find her.
Do what I have to do. I mean, I go through my stress and so, but I always catch up and I always brush it off and then I start back, you know. When I'm into it, I am really into it, I get it, and I know that is what I have to do and that is what I'm about. Sometimes I think I even bother Lesley-Ann because I have some questions asking and all kind of things. So.
Do you have other children?
Yes, I have 2 other children.
And are they okay? Are they okay?
Yes, I'm fine. What is the issue because I'm diabetic. So he had issues as a result of my diabetes being uncontrolled.
I see. Okay, but how are the other children, you know, dealing with the fact that their little brother, you know, is actually dealing with this?
My 9-year-old daughter, she's okay, she's got diabetes. But my son, my 10-year-old son, Makai, I think he was affected by me not being there because he's so attached to me. So it's like every time that I go, he goes that he uses to share. My mother does a fantastic job with him. That is like his second mother. But the mommy part of it, I think he was affected by me being absent from the home for so many months. Or even when I was at hospital before, I think for like 3 years he has been going through the same thing. Because before I was there, I had to be at the hospital every how many days, spending an entire day there, and then going back home at the time. And he's being at school and not seeing me and all that. So imagine me being away from home, being in America, and he being here. I'll have to be calling him every time on video call, telling me it's okay, helping him to do his homework. Even when I was going through my stresses days, I'll be doing homework with him. You know, and that kind of thing, making sure that I was always there for him as well.
Okay, I guess you would always, you know, find that happening, that as a result of that, other members of the family may suffer as a result. But in a case like that, you don't have a choice, because this one really needs all of this attention and all of this time of yours, that you don't have a choice but to focus on that particular one. Before we wrap up with you, Janelle, what would you like to say, first and foremost, to any parent out there who has a situation with their child and trusting WPP to assist them?
Well, I was shocked to see the kind of issues that children are faced with. The children from South America, the children from Central America, some of the children, I don't think the Caribbean children have it like that bad, like those from other countries. So I would like to say to any parent with a child who is sick, that there is always a solution. Because I've seen children that I thought nothing could be done to them, and they came out like almost perfect. So whatever issues that parents have with their children, they should contact WPP, because I think WPP have such a range of doctors working with children who are fantastic, who take care of the children. WPP is like family, because they don't just bring us to the States or wherever and leave us there. They are always in contact with us. There is always somebody checking on us at the hall. They provide essentials. They are always there in case of any issue at all. They always visit the children at the hospital to make sure that the doctors are on point, to make sure everything is going okay. So it's not like just sending your child overseas with WPP. They will be in good hands. The children will benefit from that. Different.
And if anyone from WPP is listening right now, what would you like to say to them?
Could you repeat what you said?
I said, if anyone from WPP, if they're listening right now, what would you like to say to them?
Oh, I'm sure that at least one of them is listening, because I sent the video of Lesley-Ann to her, and she was so impressed. So I would just like to say thanks to all the members of WPP and Dr. Williams, Dr. McIntyre, and just to thank WPP in general for everything that they have done for us and continue to do for us. And that I am always available, and I will try to be available at all times to assist them in any way possible. Any way possible. Anything that I need to do to contribute to WPP, I will do. Because to think of a surgery of Zane, that the kind of surgery that Zane went through, I don't think I'll be able to maintain that kind of extent. So I'm willing to give my time to WPP for any occasion at birth.
Oh my God. If this is not gratitude, I don't know what else is. Janelle, we really want to thank you for taking the time to call us on the program. We would have really preferred to have had you in studios, but we understand you shared your story with us all the same. I want to just ask everybody out there to pray for you and to pray for your son, pray for Zane. And let us hope for the best. Let us pray for the best for Zane. Whenever the time comes around and you have to return to take him back for follow-ups and whatever else that he needs to be done, we will all have Zane in our prayers, in our hearts. Thank you, Janelle.
Thank you, Janelle.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Good night to you, my dear. Wow, Lesley-Ann. This was quite intense to listen to. You try to imagine, even as an adult, having to go through something like that. The baby may not understand, what was happening to him or what was being done in terms of the surgeries, but I'm sure he felt the hurt and the pain at times.
And as she said, not being able. So Janelle would send pictures where she's sitting next to his crib in the hospital and he has so many things attached to him. So she can't take him, and then he's crying and she can't take him, she can't help him in those situations. So I know it has always been very hard for her. One of the things I also admired, I remember when Janelle went up the first time, and as I said, when they go to the US, WPP pays for accommodation and everything. And it's different people from different cultures coming together in one house. So you have your own room, but you have communal areas such as the kitchen and everything else. And there was some challenges within the house. And one of the volunteers, she reached out to me and she told me about the challenges, and she said, Janelle is a leader. And I was happy to hear that. And she'd come back to me with everything. She was like the class captain. Anything happened in the house, before WPP could send an email about it next morning, I felt very comfortable to respond to it because Janelle would give me a heads up. And she maintained the network to the point that there was somebody in St. Lucia who she met over there. And recently the person was going for a challenge and Janelle is sending me a message. Can you get this St. Lucia rep to check on this person because so that was one of the things that was very good for her. And that's where it comes back to your network and your social support. She was always willing. But I know the first time I met Janelle, she came and she had a bag and I said, oh, you need to get a birth certificate. Janelle didn't have Zane's birth certificate. She had Makai's birth certificate, Rihanna, her daughter's birth certificate, hers. She walked with everything because she said, I don't know what you would need. So whenever you called her, she would come. And her story should reach out to other parents to let them know that the challenge is great and it's very hard to see your child going through such a thing, but if you have the support, then it makes it easier. And this is Janelle's story, and we have a lot of other parents in Dominica who went through similar situations and are always willing to give that help, that support when we call on them.
Well, I mean, I don't know what can be said about WPP, this evening, except that, we are so grateful that this organization can help our children and help our parents and help our families who probably would not have been able otherwise, even with probably assistance from government, would not be able to come up with everything required, to pay those. I mean, heart surgery must be a pretty penny,
And for that, so when we're talking about 17 million,
yes,
so the amount of money the government have to pay for Zane, then the other Zanes would not be able to go. So we are grateful, very, very grateful for WPP, and just a call out to all our Dominican parents to let them know that there is no form of, we are not going to be rejected regardless what community you come from, your last name, or whatever it is. Every child has the opportunity to be healed, to get some form of intervention as long as the program provides for that specialty.
And Leslie, and I know you said a previous doctor started the project, but I think you have to be commended as well for being able to continue from where she started and to be able to do programs like these to get the information out there to the people who really need to know about WPP and what WPP can do to help our children. It is 13 minutes already. Lesley-Ann, can you believe that? You see, there's just
2 hours.
For Diana, 2 hours. Yes, Lesley-Ann, 2 hours, and we've done very well with our time. We're going to afford the callers an opportunity. Those who may want to call in and have a conversation with you or to ask a question. Let me give the numbers. They're 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097. The overseas line is 305-432-9624. And those of you who know my number, you can send me a voice note if you wish, or you can send a message through my number that I can share with Lesley-Ann as well. But that was one of the key reasons that we were here this evening, and it was to share the information as it relates to WPP and what WPP can do to assist the children of Dominica who need major medicals, not minor things.
Yes, so we're looking at major medical intervention.
Remind us of the number, your number that they can call.
275-7444.
All right. 12 minutes to the hour. We'll take a break. Again, if you wish to make contact with us on the program, or if you just prefer to call Lesley-Ann directly, especially if you have a question as it relates to WPP, that as well is quite fine. Let's take a quick break. We're coming right back on the program. This is the In the Spotlight radio show.
In the Spotlight on Q95 FM radio. Every Monday night from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight.
Yes, we can.
Featuring people from all walks of Dominican life. Spotlighting their triumphs and tragedies, dreams, hopes, aspirations, untold stories, touching the human and social side of people in politics, religion, sports, business, music, culture, the music.
She was at the end.
Public servants, youth, and ordinary listen to the stories. No limitations, no restrictions, no holds barred. In the Spotlight will also spotlight interesting topics, issues, and relevant situations. Don't miss In the Spotlight on Q95 FM radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight.
All right, we're back. We have just about 10 minutes left, and this young lady has to go the distance this evening again. Not even
literal distance.
Yes. So we wanted to get home safely, so we want to end on time. But we have one other area that we want to discuss before we leave, and that's something Lesley-Ann refers to as parent management training. What is that, Lesley-Ann?
Okay, and we spoke about it earlier, and I felt it was fitting in terms of Janelle just speaking, because we get training for everything else in life, for the job that you do, your career, you go to school, you do different things. But parenting is something you tweak. You tell yourself, okay, this is how my parents did it, and it worked, so maybe I'm going to do it like that, or I didn't like what my parents did, so I'm going to do it differently. But there is no real way to do it, but there is still what we call parent management training. And one of the objectives of parent management training is to look at a decrease in child disruptive behavior. So there are different things which may happen in a child's life, and it ends up making them have some form of disruptive behavior. So for example, and I'll make reference to Janelle. Janelle spoke about being out of the home, and Makai being sad when she's away, and a child in that situation could end up acting out because the child is not able to express his emotions as articulately as we would as adults. So he acts up, and that's where the support comes in. She has her mother who puts things in place in her absence. She still calls and ensures that she's there doing the phone calls, and so we need to ensure that as parents, and I can say we now, we need to ensure as parents that there are certain things that you do that which will not affect your child in the long run. There is what you call child shifting, and you have children, especially in Dominica, parents who would live in a remote area and your child is going to school in town. You find the child living a couple terms by this auntie, and then the godmother pull them in to live over there. We need to be mindful of those things. Your environment needs to be stable for a child to be able to grow in a functional way. We're looking at being clear and consistent about our rules. Over the weekend I was talking to one of my friends about that. When you tell the child, I need you to wash the dishes. Well, I need you to wash the dishes. You can wash on Sunday, you can wash Monday morning. I need the dishes to be washed by 2 o'clock. And it may look like sound like a lot of work, but you have to, because if you're not clear and you're not consistent in terms of parents who co-parent, so mother and father not in a relationship and they're not living together, one parent always tends to want to overcompensate. So when you come by me, you live by your mother full time, and you come by me on the weekend, you will eat all the ice cream and you do not have a bedtime, whatever, because I want to be the cool dad or the cool mom. It does not help the child in the end. The child is going to realize, okay, daddy is the weakest link, so I am going to do certain things with him that I know that I would not get away with mommy. So we need to be clear and consistent, and that's why co-parenting is very important. You all don't need to be together in a relationship, but you all need to realize that we have to do these things together. In a Dominican context, a lot of the mothers like to say, oh, the child says, mommy, can I go wherever? Oh, when your father comes, you will ask him no. The child needs to, so I'm not saying you make the decision on your own, but the child needs to know there is one decision. So at the end of the day, you all go away, have that discussion, and then you come back to the child with a unanimous decision. Never let them know that you were saying no, mom, you were saying yes, whatever it is. So we need to put those things in place, and I brought it up because Janelle touched on it as to she being away, and that's one of the things on the WPP forms when they're asking if is there anybody else in the house, are there children in the house, what arrangements will be made in your absence, and if they are not satisfied with those arrangements, they're not going to accept that parent coming. They will say, you know what, get somebody else to come with the child. Maybe you have to do some legal things to get somebody else to come with the child. Because one, we don't want to cause disruption in your home after you left. And two, while you're over there, so while Janelle is over there dealing with Zane and all the tubes that he's on, then she should not be worrying excessively about what is going on with her child in Dominica. So it's about putting things in place, and not just in a crisis situation like Janelle and Zane's, but in our everyday lives. That's where the parent management comes in. And then if the crisis comes in, then you are already able, because you had a system put in place. We have to look at in terms of reinforcement. A lot of times when people do wrong, we talk loudly about it and we bash them and we'll beat the children and we'll talk about it all over the place. And when they do good, nobody pays attention. So the positive reinforcement does not have to necessarily be tangible. The little fact that you're doing a good job, and even as adults, the reinforcement that we give our friends. So we try to say, you are being a good parent, and this child is sick, and I'm seeing you taking her to the doctor and having no excuses for it. So let's give those reinforcements and ensure that we are there for each other and can keep that system functional.
All right. I mean, quite a bit of good information there, and I see some of the parents are actually commenting while the live is going on in terms of some of the things that you have said. Now, in terms of this parent management training, is this something that is offered?
Yes, it is something that psychologists do through psychotherapy. I remember doing it a lot at the psychiatric unit, and in recent times in seeing private patients, then they would come in, because it is easy for us to point at that child and say, you know what, my child has disruptive behaviors and his grades are dropping and this is going on and that is going on, without realizing that the child is part of a system. There are different institutions, church, school, whatever it is, that make up that social system, and if they are not functioning, the child is not going to function. So that's where parent management comes in. You cannot work with a child in isolation. So you always have to pull in the parents and see what we can do to change whatever is going on that triggers the issue.
And that is important.
That is important.
Lesley-Ann, oh my goodness, what a wonderful program we've had here this evening, and I really, really want to thank you so much for
being. You made me talk for 2 hours.
I did, and I was just about to say that you kept the rhythm going right through the program. I didn't at any point see you tone it down a bit or anything, and I really love that, and I appreciate that, and I think that your listening audience and your viewing audience all appreciated that as well. Let me get some final comments from you as we wrap things up here this evening.
My final comment is, if I could leave here by just letting everybody know, take care of your mental health. You cannot pour from an empty jar. Let's take time to take care of yourselves. I got, just like you have on your live, I got some messages. I want to give a little shout out to my friends, Jessica, K. Sheila, and Dania, Asha, Krista. I know you all are always there. Dania said I didn't give her any props. She's the one I vent to. So my ventilators.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you very much. And we are a system, and you are as strong as your network. Thank you, Diana, for having me on.
It was indeed my pleasure for having you on, and I really do appreciate the fact that although you have to go so far, that you made the effort to be here tonight to share with us. And I think it was very, very good information, very important information that you shared with us this evening. I think it's worth it that you have to drive back as far as you do. I want to just encourage you, Lesley-Ann, to continue doing what you do. Your new role, continue to tackle it.
Yes, while it's still new, and I love it. Right?
Correct. And I really want you to continue working with the WPP, with this project. I think it is so important, it is so relevant, and I think our children can benefit immensely from this, and I want to encourage the parents as well to take advantage of this. Call Lesley-Ann if you need to directly, 275-7444. Go to your district health centers, whatever the case might be. If you think your child has a condition that you cannot manage, that you will not be able to find the funding to take care of that medical treatment overseas, the WPP is an option for you that you can explore. That is a wrap on the program for tonight. Again, thank you to my car ride sponsor, 365 Car Rental. 276-2833 is the number. Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited. I'm always so grateful to Q95 for the time as well to be here. All the fans of the program, yourselves, folks like Glenda and all the rest, thank you for always being here and providing me with the support. I will say good night to somebody else as well. Roslyn, good evening to you, and to everyone, who supports in one way or the other with the program. The flyer for the program produced complimentary as some support by multimedia. Innovate Multimedia. I just went blank there. My God, it's been a long day. That is a wrap. We'll be back here next week, Monday, at the same time for another In the Spotlight program. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
In the Spotlight, we would love to hear